Welcome everybody back here at Veil of Sound. And I am very, very happy to have somebody here on the show who is not only celebrating a 10-year anniversary of a certain famous, infamous concert in a Belgian wood, but also basically the 20th anniversary of his project, This Quiet Army. So I'm very, very happy to have Eric Quach here on the show. So Eric, first of all, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's the first time I think we're doing this face to face.
Yeah, so it's always a good first thing to do with a Veil of Sound. Eric, first question that I always ask is, do you have any kind of band, shirt, merch, anything that you would like to plug? It can be your own band or one of your projects or a friend's band. I'll give you a moment to think while I plug one of the
Uh,
bands that I'm very much looking forward to seeing at Roadburn. My
Actually,
friend Eugene Buñuel.
yeah, I've seen them. I think it was 2 years ago at FIMA. This was the Festival International de Musique Actuelle de Victoriaville. So they flew in just for the show, and it was like a midnight show, and in a hotel conference room. And yeah, it was awesome. It was
Yeah.
very like no one was expecting this explosion and this Eugene Robinson taking off his shirt like in the middle of the set.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was one of the highlights of that year's festival.
I can imagine because whenever you have a chance to see Eugene on stage, and also his colleagues who are very good musicians, really good musicians,
Yeah,
you should
yeah,
take
yeah,
it. So,
yeah. The
Eric, do
guitar
you have
players.
anything that you want to plug? Oh, I see a shirt that I think I
Uh,
recognize.
yeah, like I didn't pick a shirt for today, but it's well, it's just
Well,
what I was wearing when I went to the gym.
we'll come to
Uh,
Voivod in a moment.
I
But you want to say
mean,
something?
I've never been a huge robot fan, but that I collaborate with Michel Langevin, like away.
Yeah.
So I like now I'm a fan of theirs.
Mm.
I just saw them perform the show, the Montreal Orchestra.
Mhm.
And it was like really amazing. It was like I was like blown away. It's like I didn't think I would like it that much, but it was. You could see all the work involved, all the how. I think it was very mind blowing. Um, but what do you mean merch? That do I have to go look into my
Well,
drawers?
you've already had your or you already have picked or plucked somebody. So um,
Okay,
we'll
right.
also
I
talk
mean,
about your collaboration in a moment. But if you have anything else, feel free to pluck one of your
uh,
projects or your friends.
um, uh, I don't know. I can't. Oh, actually, yeah. I played Capita. It's a Montreal-based band. It's more like Black and Doom, like cello and vocal. So it's Bruna Wanderer, a friend of mine, and she's gonna be coming with me to that festival. So that's why I'm plugging her. So she's gonna join me on cello.
Okay.
But yeah, I know we're probably gonna talk about this later. But Capricha is
Well,
her band. It's the name.
yeah.
Is the band the name of her band. Probably have a
Um,
shirt not far if you want to see it.
No, let's dive straight into this Dunk Fest. I have to apologize to everybody who pilgrimages to Belgium every year for Dunk Festival. Every year I ask myself why I don't go, but I already have Roadburn a month before, and I think the wife would kill me if I spent 2 weekends in the spring outside of home. But let's dip into Dunk Festival. You performed there 10 years ago in Zottegem when it was still outside, or when your stage was still outside, the infamous forest stage. And now you are back, and you've already
Yeah.
mentioned it. You will not be performing alone.
Yeah, so Dank requested a full band set, which makes sense with my new album, which is also a full band, but with with other musicians. But it's always hard to fly over a band from Canada. It's very expensive, and uh, go there a few days before with my friend Bruna, who plays the cello, and hopefully she can fill in for all that stuff that is strings and maybe some guitar leads. And we're gonna meet with two friends of mine, Pavel and Alexis, who will play bass and drums. So we will rehearse for a few days before Dunk, and hopefully it's gonna be good.
And you will also, will you be only performing Langue Hybride, the new album, or will you also perform some of the older stuff?
For now, the plan is to perform 3 tracks from Langue Hybride. There's the possibility of a 4th track that's on The Body and the Earth, my previous full band album, which I've toured as a band in 2018, I think. But we'll see how it goes because that's the problem. We won't have that much time to rehearse the set. And if things going to be an exclusive full band set, we can't spend too much time on it either. But we want to really concentrate on Langue Hybride to also present the new album.
I mean, like when you say that you only play 3 tracks of a new album, then depending on your choice of songs, those 3 tracks already make up 40 minutes. So that is also something that we should bear in mind. You have mentioned that the new record is a full band record, and I think it goes to show. It's different from most of your other stuff. Was the writing process also a different one?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you want me to elaborate? So the whole album was conceived as part of a music residency that I applied for. So when I got picked, basically, there was a conversation with the music center that they would provide the musicians and the space, and I would stay there for like a month. So I asked for like different kind of musicians that I don't usually work for, like strings, for example, like violin and a cello player, a drummer, a bass player, and 1 or 2 other guitar players. So basically, and the residency is in Saguenay, which is 4 or 5 hours from here. It's in a beautiful region in north of Quebec where I've never been actually before the residency. And I've never met any of the musicians there either before arriving. So, and I also didn't prepare anything. Like, no, I didn't write any music beforehand. Not because I didn't want to, but I was like very busy prior to the residency. Like I was working on a sound installation. I was doing a tour in Europe for my other project with House of Worship and for Hypnodrone Ensemble. And then I had some other festivals. So anyways, basically, I just arrived there. I met with the musicians, and the goal of the residency was to create 1 hour of music ready to be performed at the end of the residency. And all that was recorded and filmed. And that was basically the mandate of the residency. And the music center was paying for everything, like including the session musicians. So they were like very qualified musicians. And it was kind of intimidating because I'm not someone who I'm self-taught. I don't have any kind of music theory. I haven't I've never learned about music in that way. I've just basically started playing guitar and making music, and that's how it's been for the last 20 plus years. So it was a very I don't want to say stressful process, but it kind of became stressful because you really had to produce 1 hour of material with
Hmm.
5 other people, and that alone is just stressful. Usually, an album for a band, a normal band, would take a couple of years at least to
Yeah.
to write, to jam, to compose. So this was done very, very quickly. I would say there's at least 2 years of work condensed into 1 month.
Hmm.
Uh, and I was also kind of like in isolation because I stayed there for the whole month and by myself. I didn't know anyone over there. And it was also summer, so people were in that area was generally busy, like doing outdoor stuff or,
Yeah.
usually in Canada, you don't really work on music during the summer. It's more of a winter thing.
Well,
Yeah.
winter is
So,
a little longer in Canada than over here in Europe, so I
yeah.
think you got a little bit more time.
Yeah. Like when it's summer, you want to get out there and go in the
Yeah.
sun and do
Make
outdoor
the
things.
most of
So,
it, right?
yeah, exactly.
Did the other musicians also stay in Saguenay while you were doing the residency there?
They live around there. They all live in Chicoutimi, in Saguenay, or even in Alma, which is like maybe 45 minutes from there.
Hmm.
So we would meet like I think 3 to 5 times a week
Hmm.
altogether for 4 weeks. So they are originally from there.
And I mean, like you've said, how strange of an experience it was. Was it also some kind of like a pressure cooker for you? Like, I have a month to do this. And how was it over time? Did it become more stressful?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
Okay.
like week one was basically meeting everyone one on one. I want to get to know the musicians I was gonna work with.
Mhm.
So we basically had one on one sessions, so I could like jam with them and play with them, and we would talk and get to know each other, and so I could already have an idea of what they could bring to the table,
Mhm.
and if they were open to this kind of style, or if they had if they were doing their playing was something that I've never used before in my records, for example.
Mhm.
So I mean, like you have to understand they're like very, very qualified musicians. Like like one was a jazz teacher, another like we had two classically trained uh string players
Mhm.
but also like you could understand where they were coming from, and versus my perspective of music, which is me, like I started music pretty late, actually, like in my 20s. So it was almost after university. It was like when I was working a real job, that I actually had this hobby of playing guitar. So, and they've been doing music since like they were like, kids, and they studied music at the conservatory and everything.
Mhm.
So that was week one. Week two, I started integrating some ideas that from the one-on-one sessions into full jams. So after week two, we kind of had like 2 or 3 general big ideas of where we wanted the performance to go. But by week three, it was like it's already in the middle of the session. So I think I had to work a lot more on my own just to accelerate the process. So
Mhm.
and since I'm the only one working on the music full time, we would like jam, record. I would take notes. I would like listen to the jams uh, in the evening, take notes. Like edit the sound, just like try to make sense of what we did, and just like recreate structures for every pieces. And I even had to write like a full song on my own just to accelerate the process and then to present to them at the next jam just so that it went faster. I even had one idea that I took from 20 years ago, like this riff that I had from it was I think it was from 2003. At that time, I was playing with my first band, Destroy All Dreamers. I think it was like this song that I was just that never worked out with the band, and so I tried to reintegrate it into the residency. And this became track 4. Again, is on Aerobias. Well, that's a track that's the only track that's been pre-written, let's say, and it's been and that the beginning of that riff and the whole kind of progression was written like in maybe 2003, I would say.
It's very interesting when you describe the different levels of musicians and also the different levels of skills and all of that. It sounds a little bit as if all of those differences flowed together in creating something which is very much This Quiet Army, but it is also something different. So it's a hybrid, and you've called the record Langue hybride. Do you also recognize this record as being something of, at least at the moment, a kind of outsider in the This Quiet Army body of work?
Yeah, for sure. On the record, there's stuff that I would never even have thought of integrating if I was doing the record by myself. But the Quiet Army has always been a personal vehicle for me to do like whatever I felt like. So whether it's a solo album or a collaborative album, I always want people to be involved like equally. I want them to share their input with me. Like we like find a chemistry where we could work together. Like as equals. I've never been a type of person to like give orders like okay, we have to play this exactly like that. Like I don't. I mean, I understand artists who have this vision and they want to do it exactly like that. But me, it's more of an exploration. Yes. Yeah. Me, it's more of an exploration of what can be done with my skills. And if there's other people, then they would bring their skills on board and we would like create something new, something fresh, something that hasn't been done before, at least from my point of view or from my career perspective, and it works like this with all the collaborations that I've did in my career, and not just this one.
Would you feel offended if I said that this is the first 100% post-rock record by This Quiet Army?
No. I mean, it is what it is. Like, and
to say it for everybody out there, if you haven't listened to it yet, when it comes out on April 18th, don't forget this record. It is amazing. I really love that record.
Thank you so much. I mean, I'm an old school post-rock person. Like before I was doing any kind of music, I listened to post-rock in the late 90s, and I've seen the genre and the meaning of the genre transform, and evolve into something that's a bit more boxed in. Before post-rock used to be anything that you could do with rock instrumentation, but it didn't. But at that time, it sounded completely different, like one band from another. And now it's becoming more and more streamlined, and so when that shift happened, I was less and less of a fan of post rock, and I think that's why I went more into hand drawn territory. Because the Straw Dreamers, my first band, was still very much in a post rock kind of mindset. We were inspired by the local scene, by post rock, by Godspeed, by Margot, but we also like the effect pedals. So we like Wall of Sound and everything like that. So the Straw Dreamers for me was my first band, and it was also like an exercise in like learning how to play and learning how to play with people and trying to make music and see if we were able to make music that would have a lasting effect on people or even worth recording or putting out, on a label, anything. So that was the first steps. And after that band, I went solo for quite a while. I was mostly like, I've had enough of working as a band, and I was really into exploring my own thing with loopers and things that are really outside of the post-rock realm. Uh, so this album, in a way, is it's kind of like a full circle, going back to post-rock, to destroy all dreamers type of compositions.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have a choice but to agree with your assessment.
Yeah. What I really like about the record is it is a hybrid. It is definitely a hybrid. It has a lot of post-rock elements. There are moments when I literally looked up if anyone from Godspeed You Black Emperor was involved in creating, because it has so many Godspeed moments, so many good Godspeed moments on the record. And then there are other moments when, as you said, different musicians, different styles, all of a sudden it has a kind of funky, jazzy undertone, and it changes very often. But there is something about it, and I would like to ask on that one. Did you? No, let me ask it otherwise. You probably did not automatically aim for such an organic, natural sound, did you?
No, not at all. But I mean, I'm also used to working with different people, and I have tons of different projects. So
Yeah.
I know that in the long run, for a project, it it will most likely sound organic. It just doesn't show on this record because I think everyone that played on this record was so talented and technically proficient that and somehow they could all uh, adapt to my vision and the composition the riff that I brought, the mood that I wanted to create. They all instantly understood what I wanted without really me having to dictate everyone. Uh, but like if you really look at in every session, it was at time it was like really hard to understand where we were going. Like even a few days before the actual show, we were like really changing a lot of things on the spot just to like instead of doing this riff, we're gonna take a break here and we're gonna change to that thing. Like there were a lot of changes that were made at the last minute. Uh, and the record is basically the final performance in its entirety. I kind of cut it a bit because it was 1 hour, but I had to fit it, so that it fit the vinyl.
Yeah.
But it was essentially the 100% the result of that residency. How it became that organic, I don't know. I guess it's just some kind of magic that happened. Yeah.
You're a good wizard.
I am a good wizard.
Definitely. When looking at this record as a part of your whole discography, it is obvious that you have gone through many different phases. Dunk Festival themselves talk about you as a noise engineer. This record is definitely a lot of post-rock. You've gone through so many different shifts and changes. And you excel at all of them, first of all. I think that is important to say. Did you, or no, is that also in a way a reflection of your search for an identity?
I don't know. It's strange because music has never been, you know, a real desire. Like, I've never thought that I would make music as a career.
Mm-hmm.
It just sort of happened organically. So yes, in a way, I was trying to find something not that I was good at, but that I was trying to find a way to express myself. Because before music, I was mostly like I would draw a lot, I would paint. I was more I identified myself more as a visual artist, but
Mm-hmm.
then it turned out that music is sort of similar, in the sense that I use sound to express myself and to explore, yeah, I guess my identity. Uh, but in the end, I'm just some guy doing my own thing, and I never really had ambitions, and I still really don't have this kind of ambition to I have to get to this level of artist or musicianship to be able to be satisfied in my life. It's just for me, it's more. It's also a bit more a way to survive. To just find something that I like to do and that I'm. Uh, yeah, that's how to explain.
But let me ask it this way. You do see that looking at your whole body of work, there are so many different sides in that body. And I figure that all of these different sides are also, in a way, a different side of Eric. So is maybe your music the only place where you find a real identity, where you are you?
Possibly. I mean, music has become a huge part of my life, and uh, I go to bed, I think about music. I wake up, I think about music, uh, uh, and I don't even know how I got to this point. It's because when I was younger, that wasn't like a plan to like, it wasn't a dream. Like I wasn't going to see bands or listening to music, and I didn't tell myself, "Hey, that's what I want to do later." It, I'm not that. I was too introverted to to be to even think that I would be performing on the stage one day. If people, like when I went to high school, if people, saw me today, they wouldn't know who I am today. Because in high school, I wouldn't really talk to anyone. I was like really shy. I was this quiet guy in the back of the room where I wouldn't really have any kind of social interaction. So I think music and art in general just helped me to get out there and connect with people more.
Mm-hmm.
In a different way than normal people do, but still, uh, when people come to talk to me after a performance and they say how my performance or music really touched them and why and how it helped them to, get over a really stressful day. This is really like touching to me, and it feels good.
You said that you never wanted to be the center of attention, but how does it then feel nowadays when you are performing, when you are the center of attention? How is that?
Well, I still have difficulty. Like I still struggle with performing. Like whenever I perform, I never ever look at the audience or the crowd. I'm just kind of like in my bubble.
Mm-hmm.
I perform for myself most like first and foremost. And when I perform, I'm literally like in my own universe, and I have no idea what's happening outside of that bubble. I have no idea how it's being received. I'm afraid to find out how it's being received, so I don't really even think about it. I just channel. It's really a channeling and a manifestation of what I'm feeling inside and transforming it into sound, and that's the expression, and that's what I throw out there in the world, and basically how it's received is really, out of my control, out of my reach. I don't. It's a weird way to. I mean, I don't know how it sounds to you, but
It sounds very individual, and I like that. I definitely like that. So does your music or your performances, do they give you some kind of, I mean, they certainly give you an emotional value, but do they give you some kind of catharsis where you can vent stuff that happened?
I think it's more like that. It's more of a ritual that I do myself to, uh, really purge all the emotions that I have, all the whatever I'm feeling, whether it's beauty or anger or whatever. It's all channeling in my sound, and my sound can come out in very different ways. And like when you said that there's a lot of side of me, side of Eric in every record, and in every collaboration. That's in a way that's true. Uh, uh, but I also want to try to show a different side as well. I don't want to be this one trick pony, drawn guy here. Like every, and that's why I also enjoy a lot the act of improvising, like improvisation. It's really creating this moment in time where it can never exist again. So and so with this record, it's a lot of these moments that I've been trying to capture. Uh, yeah. Um, so I'm getting tons of.
Let me ask it this way: Are you? I figure that you are proud of every record that you do. How proud are you of this record? Because there is so much backstory to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, this one I'm particularly proud because it was a huge challenge, and it was so much outside of my comfort zone too, to work with other people and to do this kind of record in such a short period of time in isolation, and just take 1 month to really just focus on this particular material. And since I'm someone who's mostly at ease with improvisation, I actually had to work on the specific improvisation and try to make them better and to structure them. And I think I'm also proud of involving these other musicians, because I think they were also outside of their comfort zone. Like, for example, the string players, the classical musicians, they're used to having partitions and reading music, and they had none of that, and I couldn't give them that. So we had to find a common ground to try to work together.
Did you have to find a common language?
Yes, exactly, a common language. But instead of with notes, I had to express like I had to describe the type of sound, the type of emotions. And the other musicians were more like jazz players, so they were more open to improvisation. But but because of that, I also had to structure. I had to box them in a sense, and I had to open the string players more.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was, yeah.
And at
So
the
it
end,
was,
all turns into a hybrid. That is clear.
yeah.
I like that. Eric, we have now spoken so much about the collaboration for Langue Hybride. You have been collaborating with artists for nearly 2 decades now. And not only with Destroy All Dreamers, but also when you went solo with This Quiet Army. And you've been working with people from, I think, nearly every continent. Nearly every continent. How do these collaborations find you?
That's a real question because I'm not trying to seek collaboration. I'm not someone who goes towards someone. I like I think a lot of people are drawn to me because they find that I have this unique way of approaching music. I'm already outside the box of the conventional
Yeah,
musician.
you're an outsider within the outsiders. That's clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think when musicians they see that, they're drawn to things that are new and that are outside of their comfort zone. So and even though these musicians are really good musicians, like I don't, for them it's like how they 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 want to be close to me and work with me. It's also maybe a liberation for themselves as well to
Mhm.
be as free as I am to do whatever I want to do. Like for example, with Aiden of Godspeed, like he's been playing in Godspeed since forever. But when he's me, he's really free to play whatever he wants, and he's really having fun. And that's really, that's cool to see. It's the same with Michel Langevin, Voivod.
Mhm.
There's a bunch of examples like this. Uh, Sometimes it's like I don't know, like for example, Mathieu Amanra. I think he opened for me in when I played a show in Ghent in 2011, and then he gave me his CD, like his first Syndrome CD. And
Mhm.
at the time, I didn't even know who Amanra was, like, but like like I wasn't really connected to to what was happening because I was just doing my own thing. But he's the one who approached me. So like a year later, I finally got to listening to Syndrome, and I was like, oh yeah, we could collaborate. So we just exchanged files over the internet. And then when I came back to Europe, the year after, we did a couple of shows together, and we improvised together live,
Mhm.
which was something that he was like a bit resistant to. But again, I just said, well, we could just transition, from one set to the other, just doing, like an improvisation to, it just makes something fun and special for the public too.
There is something that you've just mentioned. First of all, for everybody who's now wondering which project he means when he's talking about Aiden, he's talking about Aiden Gerd, the one of the drummers in Godspeed You Black Emperor, and one of your projects with Aiden was Some Became Hollow Tubes, and the other is Pangea
Futura.
de Futura. Sorry. So also again one of those long-standing collaborations that you have, and at the same time, with all those collaborations and all those also ongoing collaborations, it's always interesting to see you bring something very individual to the whole thing. We've
Mhm.
already mentioned, outsider within outsiders. Is that also partially due to your upbringing, be it being Vietnamese, growing up in Canada, um, with all those implications? Is that also something that you've become I don't want to say known to, but that you're being used to, being an outsider?
Uh, I guess I was, but I guess being an outsider has taught me how to adapt
Mm-hmm.
in every kind of circumstance. Like especially in Quebec. In Quebec, we speak French in a country that's supposedly bilingual, but it's not really. It's already here. We already we already have this identity problem, not problem, but I mean, like Quebec has always wanted to separate from to the rest of Canada, and I'm here. I don't know, like I don't really have a side because I'm just, a child of immigrant parents, and and I'm just trying to fit in so that like when you're at school with other children that don't look like you just kind of try to be a bit invisible in a way, just so that they don't pick on you. So there's a lot of I don't know how to say, like adaptation, you know, like 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 trying to be fooled by talking the same language as them, like using the same expressions, or liking the same kind of food when I'm supposedly I should, like for example, when I was a kid, I didn't like Vietnamese food, for example, and I think that was a defense mechanism to be able to fit in with,
Mm.
you know, and after, like when I got older, I started learning about Vietnamese food and how to appreciate it, and now it's one of my favorite food, of course. But there's a lot of little things like that when I was growing up that I had to try to adapt and like find my little space. Like, where do I belong in this
Mm.
society?
Um, There's one track on the record which I think might even fit a little bit to your description that you just gave. It's the last one, and I will not try to pronounce it correctly because I know I won't, but I think it's pronounced Solastalgie impalpable.
Yeah.
And I had to look it up. It's the fear of losing something because of certain circumstances outside of yourself. So it's a feeling of loss. Um, do you feel as if through all that history that you've also just mentioned, for example, the Vietnamese food thing, is there a certain feeling of loss, as if you've somewhere along the way lost something?
In my life, I mean,
Yeah.
uh, well, I think we've lost something since the day we were born,
Mhm.
essentially.
The
Like,
innocence.
yeah, the innocence, like when you start learning about the world, the universe, and everything, and how it works, you kind of lose hope, essentially.
Mhm.
Like, it's hard to retain that hope. Like you feel, and especially today in this climate, the political climate and everything, it's like really hard to see that the future is going to be all right. So,
Mhm.
and I think, uh, like when I was younger, I was, there wasn't, these questions didn't even exist. It was just, we were just happy to do things and try to enjoy life and
Mhm.
go play outside. So there's this kind of loss of hope, in a way that I think everyone can identify with. And in a way, you can relate that to that track. So nostalgia is also linked to uh, anxiety. about like how the planet is changing, how climate change can affect the uh, the fear of where this whole thing is going. Whether you believe in climate change or not, is like this. It's just how how things could change tomorrow, basically.
I have two more questions before we come to the infamous quickfire round at the end. One of them is, you seem to be a highly productive person. According to Discogs, you have been working on 76 releases over the last couple of decades, which basically, means that you are putting out multiple records a year. I mean, like, of course, with the improvisational things, it's clear, that is a one thing, one moment, done. But when you are working on so many projects, you must be working simultaneously on some of them.
Yeah.
How do you then know, okay, this is a track for this collaboration, or this is a track for a solo record, or, for example, this is a track for Hypnodrone Ensemble? How do you keep the things apart?
Usually there's less of that problem because when I work, for example, with Hypnodrone Ensemble, like this is the moment we're working for something with Hypnodrome Ensemble. This is geared toward, it's kind of like a mindset where, okay, I'm going to do this for this Hypnodrome Ensemble and that's it. Or in the case of improvisation, when for example, I go to Aiden's and we jam together, that's definitely some become hollow tubes, when there's the other people from Pangea coming, then it's Pangea. So already all the materials is pre-separated in a way. I don't really pick something for this project. It's just it's really the fruit of the collaboration in essence. For solo stuff, which I think is pretty obvious that if I just jam by myself and I record, then it might be either a solo thing, or if there's some leftover tracks, then and there's a possible collaboration, then I can go back to that material and pick something specifically for that other artist to I don't think it's as complicated as it seems.
So would you say that it also very much depends on the process itself?
Yeah, and also on the moment itself, because improvisation has always been about capturing the moment, and that's something that I've learned where, like, even during Destroy All Dreamers, like when we would just record all the jams, and there were like a lot of parts that we liked, but we couldn't recreate because it's just simply because the magic just isn't there anymore. Like you could try to recreate a jam or something that you like, but then it automatically becomes something else. So I think it's really about the moments. Just like, for example, with Away, all the 2 records that we put out, it was really out of this one day session that we just had a recording engineer. He just pressed record for the whole day and we just jam, and we had like hours and hours of material. And that was just for that project, even though it's split in 3 albums.
And last question, you've said that before you turned to music, you were very much into art, into drawing, into visual arts. When thinking about it, I would say there is a very clear similarity, because something that visual art is, of course, known for, or that is important for visual art, is the textures of a painting, on the different kind of, is it a canvas? Is it just paper? Is it whatever? And the textures are as important as the colors. Is that also true for This Quiet Army, that the textures, the sound of the textures is something very, very important to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like a blank canvas in music is the silence. So every layer of sound is it's a different texture, it's a different different pencil, different brush, different color.
Yeah.
And music is also very visual. And it's very open to interpretation. And that's why I have a hard time explaining my music, because I don't feel that my personal vision has to be imposed to the listener. I think every listener has to find a relation to his own, whatever feeling, story, or whatever is happening during his day.
So every listener has to find one's own picture?
Yeah, like it has to find his own meaning. Because it's like when you're talking about different genre of music, like people have a very different definition of this music sounds like this thing, and it has to be categorized. But it's really about each of us perspective and references. I see a lot of reviews where they mention bands or artists that I've never heard of, and that's really cool, because it's really about what they know and what they're listening. For example, when I was working in engineering, and I had Destroyer Dreamers, like the most obscure band that they could come up with was Pink Floyd, but of course it doesn't sound anything like Pink Floyd. It was just like this kind of Pink Floyd is the most out there thing that they have in the
in their own mind.
Yeah, exactly. So they immediately associate it to Pink Floyd, but
because they never heard Flint, right? Yeah, I know what you mean.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So and it's the same with everyone and my music, and but also with everyone's feelings and emotions. It doesn't necessarily mean that because it sounds dark that it has to sound depressive, for example. Some people, it gives them, it's a good feeling for some people. So I think that's why I don't really. I mean, I like to show them what like my teams or the teams that I associate to my music, but that's very personal to me. But I think once the music is out there, you can just do whatever you want with it. You can associate it to
once it's out there, you cannot dictate how people listen to it, right?
Yeah,
it already makes a difference whether they use headphones or not.
Yeah, exactly. You can't choose how they listen to it. Like people listen to music in their car and their Bluetooth. It's a very different experience. Everyone has a very different experience, and people listen to music in the gym. It's like,
and for every situation, you have a different setup. Not only a physical setup, but also a mental setup. I mean, like one might enjoy listening to This Quiet Army as a background music for when you're cooking.
Exactly.
Other people will say, like, that is music that needs my full attention, and I have to sit down, I have to put on good earphones, and neither one is better or worse. It's just everybody's personal decision.
But you can't also force them to listen to the volume that you want to either. Like a lot of people have sensitive ears, or or different music kind of like affect them in different ways. It is what it is.
How do you personally like to listen to music? What is your
These,
favorite setup?
I mean, I like good headphones. In a good sound card because I mostly mix music at home. So I do have monitors, but I can't. But it's not a perfect studio environment. So headphone is more like a closed bubble in a sense. And also when I'm driving, it's always good to have music while I'm driving.
So does your music also have to go through the car test?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. The car test is it's a real test. I mean, it's a very old school test, but it's still relevant in 2025.
In some ways it is, right?
Yeah.
So, Eric, first of all, thanks for all the insight into your own body of work. But of course, nobody leaves these interviews without going through the infamous quickfire round at the end. You will always get two different couples, and you have to choose one. You should know that because we already did that in the written interview some years ago. So, I'll give you some bands that are in some way related to you. Let's start off with Voivod. I'll give you two records. Synchro Anarchy versus Angel Rat. I decidedly chose an older one and a newer one.
Yeah, it's like completely different universes. But like right now in the moment, I would choose Synchro Anarchy just because it's really amazing that Very Bad can come up with such record in 40 years later, and how they constantly renew themselves, and they're the definition of a long-lasting career. So yeah, I do appreciate where they are at the moment.
Then same game with Nadia, your friend Aiden, and his wonderful companion Leah. Again, I'll give you two records. One a little older, one a little younger. Tomogenesis versus Luminous Rot.
We'll go with the Tomogenesis, is it? Yeah. Is it the one with artwork by Selden Hunt?
Let me have a look, because I also always forget stuff.
Yeah.
It's the one.
Oh no, it's not. Sorry,
it's the one which has this cover, which looks like a painting of white.
Oh,
I would say it's white doves. No, it's not doves. It's white birds. Forget what I'm saying. It's white birds, and it's a fence.
Anyways, I'll just pick that one because it's an earlier Naja, and I think Naja has always been an early inspiration of thisquietarmy. Like we met fairly early in my career, like in 2003 or 4, I think. Like my band, the Zottegem, actually played with his band in Toronto at the time. So, and then he would play in Montreal more and more solo and with Nadia, and and at the time in the Zottegem, I was more like, okay, I'm done with post rock. I want to try to experiment more in my own way. And he was really, so we got to talking, and he was really a big inspiration to.
Wasn't Aiden Baker also the first person that thisquietarmy collaborated with officially on record?
Yes, because I was trying to start my own label, thisquietarmy Records, just because after the whole Destroy Dreamers thing, when we put out 2 records with a label and working with other people, I was just a bit into an anti-band, anti-label kind of mentality. So, and yeah, he was the first one that sent me tracks by the internet in probably 2005.
You also collaborated with Year of No Light, so I'll give you 2 of their records. Außerwelt versus Toxin.
I love both of them, but Tucson is special because when I toured with them in 2012, they started playing the new songs of Tucson that were and they were not released yet. They were not recorded yet. So there's this thing where I was privileged enough to have heard the early version of Tucson songs, and when I heard the record, it was it was an experience for me to and a different kind of listening experience and enjoyment, of course.
We've spoken about Voivod, which is based on your connection to Away. Let's talk about your connection to Aiden Gert and Godspeed You Black Emperor. I'll give you 2 records. Lift Your Skinny Fists Like Antennas to Heaven versus the last one. No title as of 13th of February 2024, 28,340 dead.
Definitely lift your skinny fists.
Lift Your Skinny Fists.
Just because that era of Godspeed was, to me, it was completely different than the modern Godspeed of today. But also maybe because I was also younger and I got to see them many times before they took their hiatus in 2003. So I feel really much more connected to that album than the last one.
I'll give you 2 other very famous Canadian post-rock bands. And I'll also give you 1 record by each. So you have to choose between Do Make Say Thinks, Winter Hymn, Country Hymn, Secret Hymn, and a Silver Mind Zion's debut album. He Has Left Us Alone, but Shafts of Light sometimes grace the corner of our rooms.
I love both records and bands, but I think Silver Mind Zion, that album in particular was very eye-opening to me. In the sense that it's one of my favorite records actually, and I think I prefer others from Do Make Say Think than Winter Hymns. So that's how it got balanced.
And 2 less serious questions. Coming from a city which has not had a lot of major sports success, I'll give you 2 teams. One of them isn't even in Montreal anymore, but the Montreal Expos versus the Montreal Canadiens. Hockey versus baseball.
I don't know how you pick this. I mean, I was a huge sports fan when I was little. I was both a fan of the Canadiens and the Expos, and I even followed the Expos up until the last game almost. At the time,
the last game in Montreal.
Yeah. But it was just so sad too because the attendance of the Expos in their last season, it just kept dropping and dropping. Sometimes they would only be like 5,000 people in the stadium.
They played in the Olympic Stadium, didn't they?
Yeah. So it was a really sad sight.
And it's also sad that the Canadians haven't won anything for I don't know how many decades now.
Yeah, and and I lived through I think it was like 85 and 92 Stanley Cups that they won. But again, I was very young, so. But I mean, I still remember like it was yesterday, just because it's been such a huge part of Montreal life, even if you're not a real Quebecer or something.
So which one would you choose? You have tried to weasel around it, like.
I'm choosing for what? The one I prefer, or the
Yeah, which
one
one
I...
would you rather? Let's put it like that. For which, no, which is your fondest memory? Is it sports memory? Is it one of the Canadians or is it one of the Expos?
I guess it's the one with the Canadians.
Okay. And then the last one. What would you rather eat right now? A typical Montreal bagel or poutine?
Uh,
I didn't choose Vietnamese food because I know I wouldn't be able to pronounce it. So I'm sorry.
I just, I mean, as a typical Montrealer, I'm thrown with that question as well.
Yes,
Uh,
that's why I give them to you.
Thank you. But no one will understand this or the reasoning. But just because I haven't had a bagel in a while, I would pick the bagel right now.
Yeah,
I
I've
think,
learned that there is.
yeah,
Yeah, you go
yeah,
ahead first.
yeah. Well, I just want to say that Montreal bagels is, it doesn't sound like much, but when you're from Montreal, just going to the Fairmont Bagel
Mhm.
after a show, and it's open 24 hours, and then you get this fresh bagel and you eat it. It's just one of the best feelings, best Montreal feelings.
I've also heard that there is some kind of difference in cooking procedures between American bagels and bagels from Montreal. Please, if anybody knows more about it, get us informed. We'd like to
Well,
get some information.
I think it's
Yeah.
the honey. It's the honey that they
Could
put in
be.
the boiling water. So the Montreal bagel is a lot. It's more sweet.
Yeah.
So I think that's what makes it more addictive, and it's less dense. Uh,
Yeah.
and
Addictive.
they have a bigger hole. It makes a
Something
big
that can.
difference. It
You
makes a
go
big
ahead.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah, which is good. Not
Yeah,
everything must be
I
similar.
I can't eat a New York bagel. It's just, it's just,
That is probably also then part of the upbringing, right?
yeah. So yeah, that's the only proof that you need that I'm a real OG Montreal.
So, as Eric has said, that bagels can be really addictive. I would say if you listen carefully to Langue Hybride, the new record by This Quiet Army, out on Consouling Sounds and A Thousand Arms on April 18th, you can already get your pre-orders in. I guess if you really listen to that record, that can have some kind of addictive quality. It's real. When I started listening to it like a week ago, I thought like, okay, I'll spin it twice. I don't have that much time. I'll spin it twice. It's like 2 hours. That's okay. But and in the end, I listened to it 4 times on repeat. So it's a really good record. And
Thanks.
everybody, if you get a chance to go to Dunk Festival this year, please watch Eric for me. And Eric, thanks for your time. Thanks for all the cool music. And enjoy the rest of your day, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for liking the record and this interview. And I'll probably see you soon.
Hope to see you soon. So enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.
Thank you. You too. Bye.